What's good, traders? Welcome to another video. Well, today I want us to get to look into details. These are trades that have been holding for more than 2 weeks. This is the USD card, and in this trade, I want us to get to look into some of the things that we can get to do them over and over, so that we can get to boost our that is our win rate. Of course, sometimes you do take losses, but remember, we are in a game whereby you have to focus on more wins so that by the end of the day, it can get to outweigh your losses. So, what I want us to get to look into, guys, I want us to get to head to the charts so that you can get to see exactly what happened and, of course, what we can get to continue doing in our future trades. So I'll start by by highlighting highlighting my what I usually get to check before taking any trade. This is my checklist. So number one, quickly, what I usually get to check. Let me just go ahead and get type over here. So what I usually get to check is the trend when it comes to the weekly to the weekly. I usually get to check the trend on weekly time frame, as well as I usually also get to focus on the trend on daily time frame, as we'll be looking into together, as well as for the entry I usually get to focus with the 4 hours time frame. So this is something that you must make sure that you get to understand. And what I mean by this, the trend for weekly, daily, and 4 hours, this is what gets to determine something called the market structure. Is usually gets to into the market structure. So by the market structure, I mean you get to understand, is the market making new high highs, or is the market making new lower lows, and basically is the market either on an uptrend or is it on a downtrend. So it's very, very important that you get to understand these two things. So if the market is on an uptrend, you expect for both the weekly, daily, as well as for the 4 hours, all to align in that direction. In case where the market is on a downtrend, you need also to make sure the weekly, daily, and 4 hours, they all align and in the same direction. So apart from the trend, there is also something else I usually get to check, and that thing is where I usually get to look at the daily the daily time frame is performing or is reacting to different zones. So for the case of the daily time frame, this is where I usually get to draw either my support or either my or resistance zones. So at daily time frame, this is where I usually get to draw my zones, and of course I get to look at how the daily time frame is reacting to these areas. Mostly I usually get to trade breakout and retest. So for the daily, I have to wait. For instance, if it's in an uptrend, for instance, if we are talking about an uptrend market, I have to wait for the daily time frame to break the upper side of that resistance zone, as well as to wait for the body to close above that zone. So for that case, I have to wait for that daily candlestick to close. From there, I usually get now to narrow down to the 4 hours time frame. So after the daily candlestick gets to close, for instance, if it's in an uptrend, I get to look at how the 4 hours time frame is behaving on that zone. For the case of whereby we are talking on an uptrend, after the daily candlestick gets to close above that zone, quickly let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me switch to daily time frame so that you can get to understand what I'm talking about. So for instance, like this trade I took, you can see the daily candlestick like this one broke above this zone. There's this zone. Let me just switch it to another color. You can see it broke above this zone, and of course it closed above that zone with the body. So for this case, the trend was an uptrend. So I was looking for more of the daily candlestick to break above this zone, and of course to close for the daily candlestick to close with the body. So this was my resistance zone over here, you can see, and of course I had to place my stop loss below that zone right here. So it's very, very important that you get to understand that. So after I get to see that daily time frame, now I get to narrow down to the 4 hours time frame, and this is where the magic usually gets to happen. And I remember I usually get to take my trades at 4 hours time frame. So my daily candlestick closed around here. Now for the day 4 hour candlestick, I have to wait for a breakout and retest. And this is what I mean by breakout and retest. You can see there was a breakout, and of course we had that retest over there. But in most cases, it might do like 2-3 touches before heading to the direction that you're anticipating. So for this case, you can see there was that breakout and retest. As you can see here, the market broke above that zone and retested. But in this particular scenario, we also had another zone over here. But putting that into perspective, I was anticipating the market, of course, to do a couple of touches before now getting the momentum to go to the that is continue going up. So for this case, you can see there was a breakout and retest, and then what I usually get to look for before taking that entry, the 4 hour candlestick has to close. The 4 hour candlestick, let me just switch this on. So after I get to see that the 4 hour candlestick for the case of the that is uptrend, after the breakout and retest, I have to wait for the 4 hours. The 4 hours has to close, has to form and close with a bullish engulfing candle before. You have to make sure you wait for it to form and close the bullish engulfing candle before taking an entry. So that's something that I have to wait for it to happen before taking that entry. So for my case, let me show you what really happened here. You can see around here, you can see there was a breakout and retest, and then we had this 4 hour candlestick, this particular 4 hour candlestick over here, which broke and retest, and we had this 4 hour candlestick which formed and closed with a bullish engulfing candle before taking that entry. And remember, my stop loss is usually below the daily zone. That is for this one, it was below this resistance zone over here, and you can see it was in a safe place over there. So you can see the market really struggled for a while before heading to that direction. Also, it's also important to remember at daily time frame, as this market, as the how the daily candlestick closed, we had a very huge gap. So we had to put that into perspective. You can see there's this entire gap over here. We had this gap right here. We had all this gap. So I had to consider this one, and the market could come, fill that gap, and continue to my direction. So it was all safe to have my stop loss around here, the previous lower low, the previous lower high. So I had to place my stop loss over there. And of course, I usually get to focus on 2:1, and that is 1:2, and 1:2. For my case, it was around somewhere there. But considering for my case, I don't place my take profit, I leave it open. So yesterday, after we had those explosive FOMC news, you can see how the market exploded, and I managed to secure around 2.4, and I was contented with that. So that's also something very, very important for you to be contented whenever the market gets to your that is your potential, your targeted place. You need to close that trade and be satisfied with that. So basically, that's what happened with the USD card. You can see how long I waited for it. I took this trade that is on the 3rd of June, and as I closed yesterday, it was 17. So that was around 14 days, around 2 weeks of waiting, and of course of patience. So basically, that's what trading is all about. Hopefully, you keep implementing the same in your trades, and of course, you're going to see some profitability in the long run. So that's what happened with the USD card. Hopefully, you have learned something. You can just go ahead, you get to talk to me in the comment section. If you want to be part of my trading team, you can as well as shoot a message in my DM, and sure enough, I'll contact you when I get it. That's it. Peace, guys, for now.